And then in this method also, we want to reflect to the command of the Quran and Hadith about how we need to carry out the educational system. And then we're going to construct the framework based on the 7 fundamentals element. Later on, I'm going to explain. And then conducting critical study, combining what has been done with the new one, and then make the formulation. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Okay. In this method, we're going to consider the 7 elements before we're making decision or regulation about programs, about anything that we want to create. First of all, for example, we want to improve, we want to create a great educational system. First of all, we have to have the higher standard. The higher standard has to be your highest value system. Whatever value system you have. For example, in Islamic university, the highest standard will be the Quran and Hadith. And then for the Christians, maybe what the Bible says. For the Buddhists, what the Veda says. For the Hindus, what the Veda says, and so on. So you have to have the highest standard. That is called the commands. Commands. Apa kata your higher standard tentang best practice in education? Apa kata your highest standard? Apa kata Quran dan Hadis? Apa kata Bible? Apa kata Veda? Tentang? And then it needs to also consider the values. Apakah decision yang akan dibuat itu akan serving sesuatu yang baik? Apa nilainya? What is the values of it? And then apakah tujuannya itu jelas to serve the highest purposes of creation. And then the concept has to also be combined with the objective, the values, and the commands. And it has to be consistent also with the universal laws. Any kind of regulation, any kind of systems that you're going to create have to agree with all of the elements. The objectives has to meet the commands. The command has to meet the good values. The good values has to meet the what universal law says about the best practice, and then has to serve all kinds of groups of people in the world. Bukan hanya untuk sebagian orang saja yang diuntungkan oleh sistem itu. Harus semua orang diuntungkan. And then you have to have the proof. Proofnya dari apa? Dari research, sound research all over the world. You have to prove it with the good research. You have to back it up. And then the concept has to, as you see the webs, they have to connect. All of the 7 elements have to connect. If they don't connect, if only one of the element is not connected to the other element, this system is not comprehensive and holistic enough. That's the way we use this method. Next. Okay. So we have mentioned about the 7 elements, So we have to make sure that the 7 elements are connected to each other. Next. Okay. Next, please. Right. The work of the Maqasid methodology is actually the combination of all of the traditional works from all of the great scholars in Islam. For example, Al-Farabi, this scholar is called the second guru kedua in the world, He can speak 71 languages very well, and he mastered, menguasai seluruh cabang ilmu, And he understands that all knowledge are not supposed to be put in silos, not in the compartment, but in a very integrated and connected, a situation. So Al-Farabi is the example, the second guru of the world. Al-Farabi mentioned that he can be the best musician, he can be the best mathematician, he can be the best physicist, he can be the best chemist, He can be the best of everything. Too bad that he died young. And we have Al-Ghazali. He's the prominent figure in Islamic thoughts and education also, in psychology also. Al-Balkhi, the first psychologist, that was born on the 9th century, in the 9th century. And he was the first person who mentioned about the layers of psychological problems. And then Ibn Qayyim, the father of education. So these people have given the best example of what a guru is supposed to be. Seorang guru itu harus seperti apa? They have shown, that everything they do, everything they say, everything they feel is consistent with their highest standard. The same thing with us as the guru, as educators. That's the reason why maybe our students got so confused. They have cognitive dissonance. Mereka bingung, Guru says something but they do the others. Guru tidak bisa ditiru. Sedangkan all of these scholars, tidak satu pun di antara mereka yang menguasai hanya satu cabang ilmu saja. Mereka menguasai dengan sangat baik seluruh cabang ilmu, hampir semua cabang ilmu, terutama Al-Farabi. Apa artinya? Teachers have to be the best spiritual, intellectual, example, role model, that can transfer everything he has through action instead of through transfer knowledge by giving information. Because we see now we have a lot of informations nowadays from the internet and everything. Tapi lihatlah, Daniel Goleman, our psychologist from Harvard University, who is very famous for his emotional intelligence and focus, he mentioned that in his book, in his book Focus, he mentioned that in this wealth of information, what happened to the people? We have the poor and very lack amount of attention. We are now fighting with them to get the attention and to make the kids reflect on the reasons why they have to live, the reasons why they have to study. We are so busy, what else to do, what next research to do? We forgot to step back and then ask ourselves, hey, what are your reasons to teach? What are the objectives of this educational system that we're trying to create? What value that we can get? Is it consistent with all groups of people? Is it consistent with the sound research findings? Is it consistent with the commands of your higher standard? Is it consistent with the objectives of the higher standard and stuff like that? So in this specific moment, I would like to encourage all of us, especially me. We need to really step back, reflect whether we have to continue running for something that is not going to get us anywhere else, but more confusion for the next generation. Or we want to say, we have problems. Heal me, doctor, educational psychologist, heal me. Dr. K, Buweni, these are our responsibilities. We need to fix what is not right. We need to enhance what are already good, and we need to love our students by giving the best examples of real educators who reflect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Irianti Usman, for the excellent talk about Makosid methodology in sustainable education. And next, we move to the second speakers, Dr. Hu Chi-yin from Taylor's University Lakeside Campus. Yes, before I will read her CV first. Yeah, you can read the CV Dr. Hu Chi-in, yeah. Better known as Dr. Momoko, PhD and Master Degree in Educational Psychology from University Putra, Malaysia, and a Bachelor Degree in Psychology and a Diploma in Counseling. Yeah. 7 years of teaching experience in tertiary education, having taught at 3 private universities. And yeah, you can read the CV. And all right, please, Dr. Hu Chi-in, time is yours.
Right. Hi, everyone. Maybe I will just stand here instead. Oh. Next slide. Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's wait a moment. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Selamat pagi ibu-ibu dan bapak-bapak sekalian. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Momoko from Malaysia. Okay, Taylor University, Malaysia. So it's truly an honor for me to stand here. Okay, to present some of the insights of educational psychology field in Malaysia. Okay, I believe most of you here, some of you are students, and some of you are the experts. Okay, in the psychology field, whether in Indonesia or Malaysia. Okay, but we are in the same regions. Okay, right. So the purpose I'm standing here is not because of me just finished my presentations, but I hope all of you can gain some insights, okay, about the journey to become an educational psychologist in Malaysia, and also what are the challenges that faces by the educational psychologists in Malaysia, so that we can bridge the gap and also we can foster the collaborations between these two countries, and we can do more research and all these things together, right? So let me just quickly walk you through, okay, the psychology field in our world here. Any one of you know that psychology as a standalone field for how many years? Any one of you? Any guess? As a standalone field, psychology as a standalone field for how many years? Yeah. Yes, okay, it's about 19th century, the late 19th centuries. Okay, so it's about 150 years history in our human history. It's not that old. Okay, it's just 150 years history, psychology as a standalone field. So psychology is actually a combination discipline from physiology and also philosophy. What about educational psychology as a sub-discipline, as a sub-specialization in the field of psychology? The father of psychology, okay, the father of the pioneer of psychology. On the left-hand side, you can see Wilhelm Wundt. Okay, he is the father of psychology. All right, so he established the first laboratory experiments, okay, in Germany, okay, University of Leipzig, and the laboratory is still using until nowadays. Okay, so if you have a chance to go to Germany, maybe you can pay a visit there. All right. What about the persons on the right-hand side? Right? It's Edward Thorndike. He is the father of educational psychology. Okay, and this is how we can get educational psychologists nowadays. All right? So basically, everything's educational psychology is actually coming from the West. All right? From the West. If you look at the states, okay, the United States, and also in United Kingdoms, they have actually a very established regulations, acts, society, like for example, American Psychological Associations, British Psychological Society. So they have a very established rules and regulations, okay, for psychologists to follow. What about in the Asian country? Okay, in our regions, in Asian country. So specifically in Malaysia, so far we only have one society, okay, which is Malaysia Educational Psychology, to support, connect, and collaborate, okay, all the educational psychologists in our countries. All right. So let me just walk you through a little bit of how to become an educational psychologist in Malaysia. Okay. So slightly different across countries. All right. In Singapore, in US, and maybe in British, they have different practice, and in Indonesia as well, I believe. Right. What about in Malaysia? Okay. So very simple. You have to gain a master degree of psychology, and also you have to pursue your master degree in educational psychology. Sounds simple, right? Oh, I just need to finish my bachelor degree of psychology and also master degree of educational psychology. Then I can become an educational psychologist. So what's next? What's next? What I can do? Where could I find a job? This is the most common questions asked by the students, asked by our graduates, all right? So the process is actually quite complex and it's not that straightforward if you compare to some other professions in psychology field. For example, clinical psychologists. Okay, if you pursue a master degree of clinical psychology, it's pretty straightforward. You become a clinical psychologist, you carry out assessments, you see patients, and you're dealing with mental health cases. What about educational psychologists? Have you ever wondered? Right? So, most of our students, after they finish their psychology, bachelor degree of psychology, when they choose their path, where should I major, where should I specialize in this field, especially in education psychology, this is what they think. What I thought I would do, they thought that they can do assessment, carry out learning assessments, do analysis, some sorts of similar to clinical psychologists, but in education field, in school settings, mainly dealing with parents, teachers, and students. Okay, sounds very good, right? However, in Malaysia context, this is what the society thinks about us. Okay, what my friends, my society, and other psychologists think what I do in my country. They thought we are teachers, we are school counselors, all right? And lacks of recognitions of educational psychologists in Malaysia. So if you randomly ask any students or anyone in Malaysia, okay, perhaps what you get is something very surprising. They might not know the assistant of educational psychologists. They might know about counselor, they might know about clinical psychologists, but not really about educational psychologists, right? So they thought we are actually just the teachers. Right? Nothing much about this. And what we actually study, okay, what we learn in our master degree of education psychology in Malaysia, so like our President Kai just now mentions, only a few university, public and private university in Malaysia, we actually offer the master program of educational psychology. All right? And what we learn? Throughout the 2-year studies, we learn more about the theory and the research, how to apply the psychology theory in the field of educations. And full stop. We do not have any practicums, we do not have any hands-on experience throughout these 2 years of learning. So it's quite different from what we expect, right? Okay? This is what we think we can do. But in fact, this is not what we can do. Because we never have any experience, okay, we are never guided by how to do hands-on experience to become a practitioner. Maybe in Indonesia, your curriculum is slightly different, but in Malaysia context, it's very different, right? So for example, myself, okay, I'm an educational psychologist. I teach in the university. My research is about working memory to enhance the attention spans, working memory performance of learners. But in MAP society, in our society, we have roughly about 50 full members, active full members. They are educational psychologists. But each of us follow different career pathway. We have a very unique career pathway. It sounds very interesting, right? So we have to be very versatile. Okay? All of us, we are very unique. So you need to be a very creative explorer if you are in Malaysia and you choose the pathway to become an educational psychologist, because the pathway is not that straightforward, just like to become a lawyer, a doctor, and accountant, right? So, 2 years ago, we carried out an research, okay, an interview basically. So we gathered 10 educational psychologists in Malaysia. They have experienced about 3 to 15 years in their own field. So we actually split them into 2 groups, academicians and practitioners, all right? So we have 5 academicians and 5 practitioners. And we would like to know more about what are the challenges, what you want, what are supports that you need in our country. Okay, and that is the main objective of our society as well. We would like to bridge the gap and to foster more collaborations among ourselves to support each another. All right, so it's basically just self-regulate. All right, so what they mentions is, some of them, they deal with young kids, okay, young students in the school setting, all right, they are practitioners. So basically, they carry out assessment. You might be wondering, Dr. Momoko, just now you mentioned that you never learn about any learning assessments, right, during your study, master degree. Then how you can actually conduct your assessment since you never have this knowledge during your study? It's a good question, right? You need to be creative, all right? So after they graduated, some of them, they actually follow the guidance of clinical psychologists to kickstart their career path to become a practitioners. Whereas some of them, they continue to pursue some other master degree, for example, child psychologist and also counseling. We also have one full members, okay, in our society. She actually having 3 master degree, okay, in educational psychology, in counseling, and also in child psychology. Don't get surprised of it. Right, what about the rest? For academicians, so in academic field, in psychology, we do have some of the educational psychologists, they teach master degree of educational psychology program, and most of us, we actually teach bachelor degree of psychology, and we carry out different research, right? So some of them, they have special needs, inclusive educations, whereas for me, myself, I'm focusing on working memories, and I believe that educational psychologists, we don't just focus in school setting for children until adolescents, but I believe young adults, as a learners, we need EP as well. Okay, EP, when we started from Edward Thorndike, okay, he's our father of educational psychology. So when he started educational psychology as a sub-specializations, his focus is very simple. He just wants to foster learning, okay, to foster learning developments, learning strategies among learners. Okay? However, human evolve, right? So nowadays, you can see we have a lot of changes, okay, in terms of educational psychology field. Like some of us, we specialize in special needs educations, okay? But in Malaysia context, special needs education is actually fall under the School of Education. It's not under the School of Psychology, all right? So it's pretty different. So, of course, for us educational psychologists, you cannot work alone. Okay, you cannot work alone. You need a team. You need a team to work together to foster the well-being and also to achieve the learning objective of the students. So we need clinical psychologists together, speech therapists, and also counselors, and also the support from teachers and parents. All right, so what about the challenges? Just a quick overview so that you can ask more questions during your Q&A later. So for academicians, remember just I mentioned we conducted a research, okay, 2 years ago, and we published the journal articles. So basically, when you Google it, you can actually just search for it, Voices of Educational Psychologists in Malaysia. Then you can actually read more about the findings. So for today, I will just simplify, okay, the importance, the highlights of our research. So for academics, lacks of recognitions, students' misconceptions. So in Malaysia, some of the students, they thought that, oh, I got my bachelor degree of psychology, I can claim myself as a psychologist. But in fact, no. In Malaysia context, at least you need to get a minimum master degree of any psychology field to claim yourself as a psychologist, right? Workload, right? This is one of my challenges as well, all right? So we have to teach, and at the same time, we have to achieve our KPI to publish paper research. If you compare to our neighbor country, Singapore, which is very different, their university for lecturers, there are two different pathways they can choose. You can choose to become fully teachings. That means your professions as a teacher, okay, as a lecturer, mainly in teachings to enhance the teachings and strategies. Whereas another career pathway is for research, right? Whereas for us in Malaysia, we have to take both of these roles. Limited resources and also teachers trainings. Okay, sometimes we have to conduct trainings, okay, for our own lecturers as well in our campus. So it's actually quite versatile and multitasking, I would say. What about practitioners? Lack of recognitions. Okay, this is the main highlight and main challenges faced by both of these practitioners and academics in our country. Inability to practice fully. What means by inability to practice fully? Since we don't get recognitions from the public and society and from our government ministry, so of course the publics, the parents, if they notice their child, they have any learning disabilities or want to improve, merely just to improve the learning performance of children, of their kids, they do not know where to send them, right? And they don't really, when they look for, when they seek help, they would go for the teachers, okay, instead of educational psychologists, right? Lack of clarity of the roles of EPs in Malaysia. What means by lack of clarity of roles? Because it's actually redundant and overlapping. Okay, if you compare the psychologists in Malaysia context, like mainly in Malaysia, we have clinical psychologists and counselors. They are very well recognized. Okay, people know what they do, but they do not know what we can provide. So that is and this is what we are trying to do. And we are on, we are actually in our progress to publish, okay, to publish actually the guidelines, educational psychologist guideline in Malaysia, okay, so that publics and students, they can understand more what are the services we can provide. Limited scope within the school environments and low public awareness. Okay, let me quickly go through. Right.
Dr. Hu Chin Yin, you have 3 minutes
yes.
left.
All right. I will just skip to the last part. And I will leave the time for you to ask more questions during the Q&A. Right. To conclude my presentation, I would like to share with you this quote. EPs, educational psychologists, are hope catchers. Right? When everyone else is finding out what a child cannot do, EPs explore what they can do and what support they need to be very best versions of themselves, right? So I hope my sharing can give you some insights, all right? Thank you so much for having me today. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hu Chi Yin, for the awesome ideas about the role and recognition of educational psychology. Okay, then we have Dr. Ecep Supriyatna, SPC MPD from Bayangkara Jaya University as the third speaker.